This is Weezer, Island in the Sun. Good little summery type of song here for this last day of June, June 30th, 2019. And I'm Dylan, Dylan Knows, and this is my show, episode 302. 302. So now 2 past 300. And this one's going to be called Early Independence because normally I do a Independence Day episode on Independence Day, but this year I decided, not feeling it because mainly due to the fact that it's on a Thursday this year, and my bosses will not let us have off Friday, despite the fact that the governor of Maryland has said all state workers can take off. That we're not state workers, obviously. And then I discovered that, 2 of my employees are going to be off. I already knew that because I gave them permission. Then my one boss is going to be off, and the other manager I work with, he is going to be coming in late on that day. So it's going to be a wonderful Friday. Now, I really can't complain. I just had a nice 4-day weekend here with my son. But still, I just wish I could have another 4-day weekend. And I'll tell you why, because there's actually a study out there. A couple of countries actually do short weeks, work weeks, and it's actually much better productivity-wise for these things, but nobody cares because in the grand scheme of things, money talks. And if you're off a day off, if you take an extra day off during the week, you're going to lose that money because the company isn't going to be able to make money that day. So and it's okay for other countries. I guess not okay for us, but I mean, that's the typical thing when it comes to like healthcare and stuff like that, but that's besides the point. Anyway, I'll talk a little bit about Independence Day, obviously, 4th of July, for those who might not know what Independence Day is. I'm a holiday guy. It's actually one of my favorite holidays. It's a small, minor kind of one. It's only an American holiday since tomorrow is actually going to be Canada's Independence Day. Canada Day is tomorrow, July 1st. So, but normally I would do a 4th of July episode, but I decided, I'm not going to do it this year. Could change my mind, obviously. I just don't think I feel up to it since I'll have to go to work the next day, and I won't be getting back till late from my my family's house. So, but next year will be on a Saturday, so I'll be able to do an actual episode of Dylan Knows if I'm still around in a year, which I hopefully will be. I'll be able to do it on a Saturday since it's going to be leap year next year, so everything gets moved up a day because of that extra day in February. So what do we got this week? We've got 4th of July. We've got zombie tidal wave. We've got Staged Killer, some Netflix stuff. We got some porn stuff. I hadn't had porn stuff in a while. A couple of porn things, actually, pretty cool. New cast member for Ghostbusters 3 just made it a whole lot better. Hand Job Cabin is another really good movie we can discuss. DVD releases, new comic group. My daughter did something that no one else has done before in the Maryland area. Gwyneth Paltrow Forgetting Things, how 3 countries have a shorter working week. Corgi pool floats. Walking Dead is banned. A bishop is going to spray holy water over a city. And we're going to answer the long thought about question, are pools substitutes for baths during the summer? So we've got a lot of stuff coming up today. First off, I want to just crow a little bit because for those who know, my daughter has joined, once the Boy Scouts of America decided to open up their ranks to women in all areas, from the beginning of Scouts up to Eagle Scout. Women are now allowed in there. My daughter joined up immediately because my wife is a den leader, a pack leader, whatever you want to call them, and it was something different. Her Girl Scouts just weren't doing it for her, so she got a view of what they'd be doing in Scouts, and she doesn't have to go through the Cub Scout phase because she's old enough that she can start at the Scouts right now. So she's on her path to get her Eagle Scout, so she's got to do merit badges. Well, this week, as I talked about last weekend, when I was by myself, because I just dropped my son off, I think, because I did it last Sunday also. My son was with my mother, from Sunday night, Monday night, Tuesday night, and I picked them up on Wednesday. My wife and daughter were at camp until yesterday. They came back about, I'd say, roughly about 10:30, 11 o'clock-ish, probably yesterday. They came back from camp and heard all about it. My daughter was trying to do some of her merit badges because it's the best time to do it, to get your merit badges up there. So she finished 4 merit badges. I think it was swimming, first aid, art, and she is the first female scout in the Boy Scouts of America in the Maryland area to get the merit badge for shotgun shooting. Yes, my daughter shot many shotguns and took out lots of the clay pigeon type things in order to qualify for that. But she gets it. She has it. She's the first one. And that's just not growing. That's from an official who's run this camp for years. And no, obviously, since women have just been allowed in recently, no women, girls, whatever, have ever gone for the shotgun shooting until now. And my daughter's the first one to do it. So huzzah to that. So I got to crow a little bit on that. So good on that one as well. Another interesting thing I'm going to cover first. I'm going to go a little bit out of order here. Yesterday, well, let's just go back into the past again. The reason why this show exists is we used to, it's been 10, 15 years, something like that. It's been a long time. My wife and I became a part of a group called the Snark Alex. We started way back when we were snarking on the sci-fi movies, because at that time, before sci-fi decided to get all uppity and say, oh, we're not going to do this anymore or that much anymore, they used to do sci-fi movies basically almost every Saturday night. And we're talking, made for Sci-Fi Channel, low budget, crappy, bad movies, bad acting, bad effects, but craziness ensues. And we would sit there and we would watch it, bored on a Saturday night because we're old, and started making fun of the movies. And we began to realize that there were other people who were doing the same thing. So we started connecting with them, and eventually we grew a nice little tight-knit group of about 200 plus people now called the Snark Alex. And we became a force to be reckoned with, because whenever Sci-Fi did a new movie, we would all jump in there and we would be able to trend the movie every Saturday. And we did it every Saturday whenever they had a movie, even when we weren't at full strength. So we were one of the reasons why they kept doing them, I would most likely say. We made some friends in the industry as well who've been in a lot of these films. And so Tony Solo, the guy who sort of got us all together, Snark Alex, he decided to come up with an idea when Google Plus had the Hangouts to start doing a Snark Alex radio show, which would also be broadcast on our friend Mike Belinsky's internet radio station at the same time. So you'd see it on what you see now, and you would hear it on his radio station. Now, the radio station eventually, either they lost their license or they got cashed out or something like that. I don't remember like that. So now we just kept doing this. And then after about 88 episodes, Snark Alex Radio decided they were going to be done with it. They've had a couple of reunion shows since then. And during that Snark Alex Radio time, both my wife and I were regular contributors to it. Maybe not every episode, but we were in a lot of them. And then Tony, in his wisdom, when we were at the height of our powers, when Snark Alex Radio was still going on, he wanted to create a bunch of other shows to give us sort of our own, to build our group a little bit. So one of the shows is this one, Dylan Knows. Obviously, episode 302, I've been working for 5-6+ years. Can't remember now. I think it's 6+ years now. I'm getting close to 6 years in September, I believe. I'll have to verify that. You'll hear all about it in September because I'll start pushing that again. But I've been doing this for 5-6 years straight. And so mine was one of the shows. Then Kelly had a show with Mel that turned into a show with Mike. And then that one sort of went away. And then they created their own show. And so there's been a few, and that one's still running. There's a few popping up periodically here and there. and then Tony and I used to do a show also, Snark News, or I forget what that one's called because it's been a while since we did that. And we did that once a month. So we haven't done that in a while because we really don't watch Walking Dead anymore. Really don't have a lot of stuff going on. So slowly but surely, once sci-fi started getting rid of the sci-fi movies, we haven't been connecting as much. Now we've had little subsets of groups go off and still talk and chat on shows, stuff like that. We have had our snark stocks where we've gotten together and met up in certain locations. So all kinds of fun stuff. So we did that. So make a long story short, too late. Gerald Webb was a casting director / actor for The Asylum for the longest time. He was one of the guys that was the casting director for the Sharknado series. And he was the guy that got a lot of these B-level, C-level actors and stuff like that to come in and play these crazy roles in Sharknado. Eventually, he got away from that and created, I think, his own production company with Chris Ray, who I've actually had the lovely opportunity to interview on this show before. And they've been making their own shows and movies. And so their newest one that they produced was called Staged Killer. And in this era now of Netflix, they made this film and they were able to sell it to Netflix. So it's streaming on Netflix currently right now. So go to your Netflix after you watch the show, of course, and type in Staged Killer, and you'll see it up there. And go ahead and watch it. It's 87 minutes, no commercials. And so last night, Gerald and Kelly and Mike set up what they call a Netflix tweet sync, where they wanted to try this thing for the first time, where they got all the Snark Alex back together for a one night thing, who all of them who had Netflix, and we would start the movie all at the same time. This case was 9:15 Eastern time in the evening, and we would tweet about the movie, see if it would trend. I do not think we succeeded because while we do have a lot of Snark Alex, not every one of them came to this event. Not every one of them has Netflix. And also, even though we were the majority of people who helped Sci-Fi get their stuff trending, there were other people who would pop in periodically who were not Snark Alex, who would also help get it trending as well. So, I mean, I will give them credit for that. But to be honest, when you have about 150 people tweeting about one thing, does the majority of the work. And no, we had help, obviously, supporting roles, stuff like that to help out. So we decided to do that. We didn't have that this time because this was just within the Snark Alex range. And as I said, not everybody has Netflix. Not everybody could do it on the Saturday night. But we got a lot of the cast members to come on and do the tweeting with us. And that was fun. And Gerald was there. And Chris Ray was there. So it was kind of like old times. Gerald and Chris, they picked the best tweeters and are going to send them signed script covers, which is pretty cool. And it was, I think, fairly successful. I mean, it all worked out. We all timed it perfectly, and we were all tweeting, and it had a lot of stuff, and it was all over my feed. But I don't think it was enough to get it trending in the country. But regardless, Stage Killer was a entertaining film. Is not nearly as bad as the sci-fi movies we used to rag on. So that's what helps my tweets, is when it's really, really bad, to come up with the really awful tweets about it. But since this movie really didn't have a lot of that moments in it, it was just sort of, to me, my tweeting was fairly mediocre. Though I did make a few observations. I observed the fact that I believe the color blue is hugely highlighted in the whole movie, and it almost knocks you out. Once you see it, you'll start seeing it all over the whole movie, and it is crazy how much blue is in that movie. And I don't know if that was done deliberately or not. But to be fair, the movie itself was not really that violent or gory at all. And to be fair, it would probably be a sort of film you would see on Lifetime or the Hallmark Channel. Maybe not the Hallmark Channel because that's more of the wholesome stuff. Maybe the Lifetime Channel, Lifetime movie, because the script, the storyline is fairly common. There's a guy in high school who does a show with this girl, and he falls in love with the girl, but she's dating baseball player, or football player, I should say, excuse me. And then the football player mysteriously dies. But then it flash forwards 10 years. The female is now a popular, though not hugely popular, morning talk show host. And this guy who was with her in high school is still obsessed with her, and so follows her to her new job and insinuates himself into her life, and tries to, clear out all the people that will keep him from being with her, and thinking he's doing her a favor by it. So it's a Stalker McStalkerson typical type of movie. He's the killer basically right off the bat. You don't see it in the first scene. You don't think he's the one that kills the football player. You think that the movie's going to be the mystery of who killed the football player, but in the end, it really isn't. And you see this guy doing all this stuff and being obsessed with the woman and seeing the murders, which I guess is kind of refreshing, instead of having to try to figure out who amongst the cast is the killer. While it can be fun in some instances, this one decided to just say, here's the guy, he's the killer, and the story we want to tell is him insinuating himself into this life and stuff like that. So that being said, again, I would recommend. It's a fun little 87 minutes. If it's a rainy day and you just want something light and fluffy to watch. Well, it's not really light and fluffy, but just something just to sit back, relax, and just sort of zone out to, and absolutely tweet about it to get attention to it. So it was fairly successful. So there's talks that maybe down the line we might start doing this again with some other movies as well. So we'll see what happens. So that's to be continued. So go ahead, look for Staged Killer, Staged Killer, Killer on Netflix, and you might enjoy it. And speaking of bad movies, sci-fi is going back to the well again. Ian Ziering is going to be reteaming with his Sharknado producers for a new movie coming out in August that will probably start another whole franchise again. This one is called Zombie Tidal Wave. So that's going to be one that us Snark Alex will definitely come back for. I think it's August 17th or something like that. It's going to be on. Let's see if I can get a date for Zombie Tidal Wave. Zombie Tidal Wave. There it is. Zombie Tidal Wave. Let's see. Does it say anything about when it's going to be on? August 17th. Yep. So it'll be the sci-fi original movie is debuting as part of the network's Off the Deep End weekend on August 17th. The event is celebrating all things shark-related by showing the 6 movies as well as others such as Sharktopus vs. Terracuda and Damn Sharks. So Zombie Tidal Wave will be coming out August 17th. Huzzah. So yay on that. So that's one to keep an eye out for. Also, you'll see us tweeting about that, and that one will probably be trending because there are probably going to be other people who are going to be like, oh, this sounds pretty interesting. So I think I've talked enough about that. So let's move on to what we got else going on this week. Fast walkers, like myself, studies say fast walkers live an average 20 years longer than slow walkers. And I'm like, perfect, because I am a fast walker. I have long legs, and sometimes it's really hard to get behind mobs of people, and I sort of I get kind of antsy and want to get moving. I get that from my dad. My dad was always a fast walker also, so in order to keep up with him, we're on vacation, you had to learn how to fast walk also. So become a fast walker. It might make life a whole lot better because you live 20 years longer. Now, last week I talked about the third 89, 99, the 30th anniversary of Batman, right? 89, 99, 2009, 2019. Yep, the 30th anniversary of the Tim Burton Batman movie. I talked about that last week on my show. Well, after the show, I discovered this. Kim Basinger has dressed up as Vicky Vale for years, visiting children in hospitals. So she has gotten costumes or gotten dresses and outfits that were similar to her outfits in the Batman movie, and would go to visit children dressed as Vicky Vale and talk to them and stuff like that. And again, it's always cool when actors and actresses get dressed up in either their costumes or whatever, and they visit their these sick kids and stuff like that. And you might think, oh, it's just Kim Basinger, and who cares about Vicky Vale? It's not Batman. But a star like Kim Basinger, who has won an Oscar, by the way, and was a pretty big star in the 80s and early 90s. The fact that she's gone out of her way to do this and no one has known about it until now just goes to show you that she's not doing it for publicity. She's doing it because she wants to. And that's the most important thing, is when, people say, hey, I'm going to go to this hospital and see these kids, why don't you film that? Basically, they're just getting to show themselves being good. But sometimes, things just happen. Like I talked about last week, Keanu Reeves, he has given money to children's hospitals every month, basically, of the year, or every year at least. He gives thousands of dollars to children's hospitals, and he doesn't mention it. And it just gets mentioned because someone brings it up or whatever. Also, stuff like, Tom Holland as Spider-Man has been visiting kids dressed as Spider-Man. And, that just gets out because people videotape that. But again, you don't know which hospital he's going to hit because they don't announce it. He shows up one day, and then parents are going to have their cell phone videos and whatever, and take some pictures of their kids with Spider-Man, and it's perfect. So you got to love all that stuff. Speaking of Tom Holland, since I'm jumping all over the place, maybe we'll jump here. Gwyneth Paltrow forgot that she had acted in Spider-Man Homecoming. Now, to be fair, it is a cameo role, no more than about 3 to 5 minutes long. But the fact of the matter is, and to be honest, I don't know if she was in the middle of a whole bunch of making films, so maybe she could have forgotten then. But still, she was in Spider-Man Homecoming, and she forgot that she was ever in it. And that has upsetted Tom Holland, as he's been doing interviews for the new Spider-Man movie, which comes out on Tuesday, actually. So go ahead and check out Far From Home, Spider-Man. It's the epilogue to Endgame, and highly recommended. Now, it looks like that the re-release of Endgame that came out this weekend has sort of tanked at the box office, so it's probably not going to surpass Avatar's total. They're I think they said about 25 million away now from surpassing Avatar, and I don't think it's going to happen, even if they keep re-releasing it. So at this point, just give it up and just say, all right, fine, you win. And then work on selling more DVD and Blu-ray copies than Avatar did, and you can win something there then. So a little political stuff right here. German residents have been buying up all the beer in this small town to keep away from a neo-Nazi event that has invaded their town. So they knew this was coming, and they had no recourse to stop it. So they said, well, we'll make it a little bit more difficult for them. So they bought up all the beer in town so that when they came into town, they could not have a beer. And the Germans love their beer. Speaking of which, I've got to write that down too. Part of my Independence Day story, we'll talk about later down the line. I've got to figure it out in my head, and it's probably not going to come out as good, but there's just a way I want to explain to you how much I enjoy 4th of July and how much I enjoy holidays, and it's really hard to point that out. We got a couple of shark stories. And they're not really good. Sharks are sharks. I mean, they do their they do their thing. But in this case, there's 2 rough stories about it. One is a shark tries to attack a dog. Pippin! No, not Pippin. That's a Jaws reference. At a beach, But the dog's friends come running into the ocean and are able to scare away the shark from attacking their friends. So that's a good sign of animals working together and cooperating against a common enemy, which is something I'll bring up later in the episode. But then the sad part is a South Carolina woman, a young woman, actually she's like 17 or something like that, was killed by 3 sharks. And they unfortunately, they really tore her to bits in front of her family. So you can only say so much, because obviously when people get attacked on surfboards, it kind of makes sense because sharks are fairly blind when it comes to stuff. I mean, their eyes are on the side of their heads and they really can't see too well. And when they see somebody on a surfboard with their hands flapping and their legs kicking and stuff like that, it looks to them like manatees, which they eat. So that's why they attack people on surfboards. But this woman just being on her own in the middle of the water and just being attacked is almost Jaws-like, in the fact that Jaws never really explained why he attacked people, only that he did because he was hungry, and that's basically it. But the fact is they weren't doing anything that made them think that they were be mistaken for another animal. So some sad shark stuff. Real quick, while I'm on the subject, this is more of an interesting shark thing. Target actually has the Jaws board game, and I went and got it the other day. And you play it in 2 parts, and you can actually play Jaws itself. So I'm going to break into that sometime this week probably, and actually I might take it to the 4th of July party for my kids, because my kids are the youngest at this party, and they don't have any other kids that they can play with there. So it gets kind of boring for them after a while. So I might bring that in and let them enjoy that and play that. So that should be fun. But yes, go to Target and buy your Jaws board game. While you're there, also pick up the Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood board game as well, which I picked up for my wife as well. Check out their board game section. There's all kinds of cool stuff. And then I will tell you later on in the episode another reason to go to Target, because that's where I'm going to go to Target hopefully sometime, either today, or if not today, I will sneak out tomorrow after work and get what I'm getting ready to tell you about. Speaking of 4th of July, an Alabama car dealership is giving away Bibles, flags, and 12-gauge shotguns for 4th of July. Well, okay, that's wonderful and patriotic and all that, but they're giving away guns and Bibles and American flags. Let's talk a little porn. I think I might do all my porn now. Substitute teacher was fired from her job for filming a porn video in her classroom. Now, luckily, it wasn't with any staff members or students. Apparently, it was probably with her boyfriend, and she probably had the keys to get in. It was probably after hours or whatever, and they decided to do a porn, like teacher and the bad student, and they filmed themselves having sex and released the porn video. But you just can't do that in a public school, and you're a substitute teacher on top of that. So now you want to know why? Why would somebody do that? Well, Pornhub, which is the hub for all porn on the internet, will pay up to $38,000 for homemade videos. Hell, I'd love to make a porno movie, but just won't be able to. But hey, that's probably why the substitute teacher, she doesn't get paid a lot, so she figured, hey, I'll come up with a story, me and my boyfriend or husband or whatever, we can pretend to be, teacher and bad student, or we could do, teacher parent conference or something like that, and the porno writes itself. And then we'll send it to Pornhub, and they will pay us $38,000, which is a lot of money. At $38,000, if you made one porn and sold it to Pornhub, and they bought it for $38,000, you could buy a car. Think about that. If you need a car, make a porn video and send it to Pornhub, and if they buy it, it should be for $38,000. You can get a car. Get a car with porn should be their new headline. So, now this isn't really porn, but a lot of times people use porn for this. But the Pope Francis, has declared that masturbation is no longer a sin. So that's actually kind of good because now people who feel the need to get their sexual urges out by raping people now, which is also a sin, but I guess, I don't know, the way the Republican Party talks, it isn't really, I guess, since we have a president in office who has been accused by 22 people of raping them, and no one's doing a goddamn thing about it. So to them, they're like, so it's okay to do all that stuff. Plus all these other people who've been getting off, for raping people. It's like, no big deal. We'll give you a slap on the wrist as long as you don't do it again. Probation, blah, blah, blah. It's a bunch of bullshit is what it is. So to them, it doesn't really matter. It's like, oh, well, fuck it. So, man, literally. But now Pope Francis says masturbation is not a sin. So, why don't you just beat your meat, man, and just get your sexual urges out that way? It also save you from any embarrassment claiming to be the party of family, and most people who get busted for sexual crimes are Republicans, or people who are so anti-abortion are the ones that get busted for paying for an abortion to their lover because they don't want to get caught because they cheated on their wife. So what can I say? Again, I'm done with my just frustrating to me. So those are some of my porn stuff, and that might be there's one more. I've been talking about bad movies. Here's one that will probably never ever show up on Sci-Fi. Might not even show up on Netflix either, but it's called Hand Job Cabin, and it's exactly what you think it is. But the storyline is somewhere along the lines of a cabin is haunted by a woman who gave terrible hand jobs, and her ghost is coming back to get revenge on people by giving them terrible hand jobs. So, Hand Job Cabin. Look for that somewhere. I'm sure it's out there somewhere. You can probably pick it up. Now to get my head out of the gutter, maybe not, because Salma Hayek. Desperado. You know what I mean? Go watch Desperado and you'll know what I mean. Salma Hayek is in talks to join Marvel's Eternals. Hasn't been cast yet, but Angelina Jolie was in talks also. Don't know if she's been cast. Keanu Reeves was in talks. Don't know if he's been cast. And now we have Salma Hayek in talks. And she might not have been in there yet either. But it's kind of fascinating. So do that what you will. Hopefully maybe next year. Actually, probably 2 years, I think. I think they're going to be doing the May 2021 slot. Is Jinx okay? I don't know. The dark sense of humor could be a sign of dementia. I don't know if I have a dark sense of humor, but if you see somebody who might have a dark sense of humor, they could potentially be a sign that they're going to have dementia down the line. So I don't know. We'll see. So keep an eye out for that. Thursday is July 4th. There's a whole lot of that might be Dawn. Just there's lots of running and noise and stuff like that. But July 4th, it's July 4th, but you're also going to get season 3 of Stranger Things will be coming out on Netflix. So, get yourself caught up on that. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because you can actually now buy a 6-foot-tall Demogorgon sprinkler. So, you can sprinkle your yard with a giant Demogorgon, or you can play in a sprinkler where a giant Demogorgon is squirting water at you. So, some are fun for those who like Stranger Things. And don't forget to watch season 3 starting on July 4th if you've got nothing else to do. According to research, swallowing your I forgot. I do have one more sex story. According to research, swallowing your partner's semen on a regular basis actually prevents you against miscarriages. I don't know the scientific analyses behind that, where when you swallow your partner's cum, it doesn't cause you to have a miscarriage. But it's just a way, it's maybe it's just a study to say, hey, why don't you swallow instead of spit, Wow, it's a Sunday afternoon. I've already talked a lot about sex. First hour in. Wow. This past week, we had 3 deaths all appear on a Wednesday. So you had your rule of 3 all happened on one day. Max Wright, who's most famous for playing the dad on Alf, but he's also had roles in The Shadow and a few other movies as well. It's on like the tip of my head. I can't think of what it is. Billy Drago, who was a character actor who always seemed to play a villain, also died as well. Let me see if I can get some of Billy Drago's, because he's been in a lot of stuff. Where's Billy Drago? Okay. He was in The Untouchables, The Hills Have Eyes, Pale Rider, Deadly Delta Force, Tremors 4, Invasion USA, Cyborg 2. But no, he's been in a lot of stuff. Pale Rider, Invasion USA, was in an episode of Moonlighting, was in North and South Book 2, was in The Untouchables. He was in Friday the 13th, the series. He was Delta Force, Martial Law 2, Cyborg 2. That's right, The Adventures of Briscoe County Jr. That's where I remember him most. That's what it was. He played the main bad guy, John Bly. That's right. That's where I remembered him most from. I knew him from something else. But yeah, as I said, he's a guy. Soccer Dog, the movie. Is an episode of The X-Files. The Hills Have Eyes. He was in Supernatural. So he was, as I said, a character actor who always seemed to play the bad guy. And that was where I remembered him most from, was Briscoe County Jr., which is one of the best TV shows of all time. If you've never seen it, you will love Briscoe County Jr. Bruce Campbell, Billy Drago, and just a wonderful, wonderful TV show. It only lasted 1 season, which is a shame. And then Beth Chapman, who was Dog, the bounty hunter's wife, she passed away this week as well. They all died on Wednesday, so kind of a rough day, I guess, all around. Here's something that would make a good Netflix movie for Gerald Webb and Chris Ray's next production for Netflix. New Jersey woman is charged with stabbing of her identical twin sister. So basically, you killed yourself because identical twin sister. But at the same time, it's not, because while you are identical, you are 2 separate people with their own personalities and blah, blah, blah. But the fact is, a New Jersey woman is charged with the stabbing death of her identical twin sister. That's just, if that isn't a movie idea, I don't know what is. And it's probably been done before, to be honest. But, wow. Mysterious bathtub rings discovered on Titan has been replicated on Earth. So I don't know exactly what that is. It was some sort of ground thing that made it look like these weird circles on Titan, and no one knew exactly what it was, but it was able to be replicated on Earth. So obviously it's something that happened. So it wasn't like, oh, aliens are driving around on little cars making these rings and stuff like that. No, it's probably just this. Speaking of Titan, actually, since I'm in the middle of this also, I'm jumping all over again. Oh, where are you? NASA will be sending a quadcopter called Dragonfly to Titan, and that's not going to be till like 2024 and then it won't get there till like 2028. But it'll be a helicopter that'll be a drone type of thing. They'll be flying over Titan and taking pictures of it and landing, I think, periodically. And that's awesome because more than anything, now we've seen a good portion of Mars. We know what Mars pretty much looks like. I still want to see a North Pole or South Pole, rover or something like that to get see some of this ice and more of a flat area than you have in the middle of the planet. But we know a lot about Mars. Mars has been photographed to death. You really can't go to Venus because it's way too hot on the surface. It's literally hell on Venus. It's hotter than, well, it's up there with this being as hot as the sun, really, because the clouds are basically giving a greenhouse effect, which traps the heat on the surface of Venus and has melted all kinds of metal probes that have been sent there before. Mercury is Mercury. It's blah. It's cold, really, really cold and really, really hot. It doesn't rotate. It stays hot the whole time, stays cold the whole time. And it's just sort of like the moon. We've seen the moon also. And then there's some other planets out there. Pluto would be a good one to explore, actually have a lander and stuff like that. But Titan, of everything, up there with Europa and some other moons as well, is one of those moons that I would absolutely love to see like lots of pictures from, because it is one of the only bodies in our galaxy that has liquid in it. It's not water, but they have liquid rivers, lakes, streams, and all kinds of, and it would just be wild to fly over the moon of Titan while you're flying over the quadcopter and flying over these seas of chemicals that are not blue, green like the oceans on our planet, but are different colors, but work in the same way. It'll be so cool to see. And I can't wait to see that, but it's going to be 10 years at least before we see any of that stuff. So we got a little ways to go, but the fact is they are going to be sending someone there, and that's perfect. So huzzah. Woman and boyfriend sleep in separate rooms so woman can cuddle their cat. Now, you tend not to have separate bedrooms till you get older, and even then, that's not even a given. Some people prefer to have separate bedrooms. I know a few people who are older who have separate bedrooms or have had separate beds or whatever. But you kind of, if you are dating somebody and you're kind of maybe like living together or whatever, you kind of want to be maybe in the same bed and sleep in the same bed and sleep together. But to have a woman sleep in one room and the boyfriend sleep in another because the woman wants to cuddle their cat. I love my cat, but I don't want my wife to be sleeping in a separate bed from me. So, okay. Huge blob of fire ice has been discovered beneath the ocean. It's actually frozen methane they call fire ice, but they say that, if it bursts, it could cause major issues for our oceans. But they have discovered huge amounts of this stuff, so something's going on. I don't know what exactly, but there we go. Dozens of drivers get stuck in the mud after Google Maps reroutes them to an empty field. See, that's why I don't really trust a lot of GPS stuff, because they take you in weird spots sometimes. I remember I took a cab once to my work, and I know how to get to work. There's at least two ways, possible third one that's longer. But there are at least three ways I know how to get to my work. And this guy took me now a fourth way, which is way out of the way. And these GPS things, I guess they don't really, they don't think. They just, what's the easiest, what is the fastest, what is the clearest way to go? This cab driver took me through a neighborhood behind where my building is to get to my building. instead of going just right down the main road, which would be a whole lot easier and probably be a lot faster if you hit the light right. We end up having to go here. It says turn left, turn right, turn left again, turn right, make a slight right, make a turn left, here, turn right, turn left, turn right out, and there's your building. It's like, okay, it could just go straight down this road for about a mile and you're there. But the fact of the matter is, dozens of drivers got stuck in the mud because Google Maps rerouted them to this empty field, which was muddy from rain and stuff like that. So I think that's funny. Y'all know that I am a huge Halloween fan, fall fan, whatever you want to call it. So we're that much closer now to fall. July 1st is tomorrow. And then after a month, it'll be August 1st. And then after another month, it'll be September 1st, which is then technically meteorological fall. And then we have September 23rd, which will be the first day of fall. And then the month of October, where fall gets fully formed. In the month of October, you have Halloween, which, again, I'm a holiday guy. You all know that. If you don't know that, I'm a holiday guy. So DC Comics and comic books in general, they have something called a previews catalog. And I worked at Diamond enough that I know, these previews catalogs are 2 months in advance. And it's a way to get comic stores to order what they think will be hot in 2 months so that the comic companies can set their print runs and then print these off and get the right amounts to it. It makes perfect sense to do 2 months in advance. It's great. So the new previews catalog that comes out will be coming out this week, will be July. So that's books coming out in September, because July to August, September. So books coming out in September are going to be in this this previews catalog. Though the more I think about it, I don't think you're going to actually see this story until the August previews, because Joe Hill, who is the son of Stephen King and has had a successful horror career on his own, is bringing Hill House horror comics to DC this Halloween. It's going to be a series of horror comics done by a bunch of different writers and artists. He's writing 2 of them, I think. That'll be out, I think, in time for Halloween. They might come out in September, but they might just be, hey, this is coming up soon. And it's not going to be like superhero, it's not going to be like with DC people. It's going to be horror comics, with new characters and stuff like that, from what I gathered. So your horror fans coming up, you got these new comics rolling through. Also, I've also started to see the ads for the Halloween Comic Fest, which this year, let's see, when's that going to be? Which is basically fall's free comic book day. They have, it's not as big, obviously, as free comic book day, but it's still something that's been going on for years. DC, Stark Red, Ghost Rider, Pokemon. All right. When is it going to be? Announcing the fall full list. Come on, give us the date. October 26, 2019. So it's always the weekend before Halloween. And you go to your local comic store and pitching that for the Orioles. Sorry, I can see some of the Orioles have. I'll talk about the Orioles in a second. So basically, comic book stores. All right, let me reverse. A lot of comic book stores are in strip malls or in regular malls, for that matter, too. There are a bunch that have the freestanding stores, but sometimes, like a good example is Alternate Worlds, a store in Hunt Valley, is part of a bunch of antique shops all in a row. It's a building. It's like a row house type of thing. It's a bunch of that. The comic book store I go to, Cars, Comics, and Collectibles, is a standalone stuff. It is not really connected to anything. But that weekend is the Halloween Trick or Treat Fest, where Reisterstown, which is where I'm from, all the stores along our main street, they open up and kids can go trick-or-treating, get free treats, stuff like that. There's going to be contests and pictures and all kinds of stuff, but it's a fun event for families before Halloween to go and do stuff. So the comic book store will be doing something with that. So it's always, and a lot of these places, a lot of these stores, a lot of these malls, they do their early Halloween, the weekend, because Halloween, when it falls during the week, kids still are going to school. You still have to go to work. You don't want them to stay out too late because it's getting darker now since it's fall at night, stuff like that. If Halloween doesn't fall on the weekend, a lot of people would rather have their kids go out during the day trick-or-treating, and not necessarily on Halloween. Or some people still do Halloween trick-or-treating, obviously, but there are a lot of people who don't, and they would prefer to have like a event like this. So a lot of these places do that. Strip malls do it, regular malls do it. You see them all over the place. You'll see, hey, come trick-or-treat at the mall, or come trick-or-treat at the strip mall, or whatever. So because of that, these comic stores came up with the ideas. Why don't we do like a free comic book day, but for this Halloween weekend, because we know all this stuff is going to be happening in most places. And again, you do not have to take part in it if you don't want to. It will cost you money, not a lot. And then to make it different than the free comic book day, they're not going to offer as many books. So it's not as big an event, because free comic book day is like the event. It's their Christmas, basically. This one's just a little minor holiday. And so they don't offer a lot of free comics, but they still want to do it, a way to get people in. And if you're a part of this shopping area that does trick-or-treating on the weekend before Halloween, well, there you go. You have a perfect opportunity. Hey, kids can come in their costumes. You can give them their candy. But, hey, look us. We got free comic books also. So good on that. So we'll see what happens with that. So Halloween's coming quickly, and I love to talk about this stuff all the time. All right, little Pokemon stuff. There is a Pokemon-inspired pop-up bar will be opening in Brooklyn. There's pop-up bars everywhere now, and I still quite not exactly sure what it is. It's like it gets an abandoned building. You pop it up for a week or something like that, and you make decor like Pokemon stuff and make Pokemon drinks, I guess, and then it disappears after a while, I guess. I don't know. But it's in Brooklyn, so if you're a fan of Pokemon, there you go. Yesterday was Raikou Day, where for 3 hours, the legendary beast Raikou was in all the raids, and Dawn, being the Pokemon Go player she is, after coming back from a long weeks of camping, she wanted to go out and do the Raikou Day, with the potential to get some shiny Raikous. And we joined a raid train that we have so many gyms in our area that we just stayed in our area. We ended up doing 11 raids, and Dawn got 4 shinies, and I got 1. So that's good on that. And now we're still in the midst of their 3-year anniversary with the Alolan Pokemon are out in force now, and you can get shinies of them. And also there's special research going on that gets you all kinds of fun stuff. So Pokemon Go is still going strong. And then finally, Detective Pikachu, which was a surprisingly fun, good film, will be coming out on Blu-ray on August 6th. I think it'll be digital July 30th or something like that. So maybe before that, might be July 21st or something like that, or the 23rd or something like that. So it'll be coming out on Blu-ray on August 6th. So that's great. I'll pick that up then. But then they also announced that Avengers Endgame will be coming out on Blu-ray on August 13th, a week later. So we've got 2 weeks. We've got 2 great books, or 2 great movies coming out on Blu-ray. Again, digital will be sometime in July for both of those. So look for the end of July, a couple weeks before the Blu-ray releases. You'll find it on digital. So if you do it that way, you'll be able to get these early. So yeah, you better believe I'm going to pick up that stuff. Bartender refuses service to 62-year-old Tom Hanks because he had no ID. Now, I don't know how to take that. It's Tom Hanks. Everybody knows Tom Hanks. Everybody loves Tom Hanks. He's also looks old. He looks like he's 62 years old. And you know who he is. You know he's Tom Hanks. You know he's not some fake, because he looks and sounds and talks like Tom Hanks. But this bartender, maybe he's gotten busted before, got in trouble before, refused service to him because he didn't have ID. And maybe that's a rule they have at the bar where they ID everyone, and that's good. That's fine. Can somebody check to see if Jinx is okay? So you gotta cheer on the bar because they stuck to their guns and didn't serve somebody who didn't have ID. But the fact that it was Tom Hanks and that alone should have been ID enough is also kind of, so it's kind of a weird, who knows, but whatever. Tom Hanks has also been obsessed with World War II, so this next story would fit right in his wheelhouse. A World War II bomb suddenly exploded in a German field, leaving a giant crater. There's still lots of those bombs and mines and stuff from the war that are unexploded, that are still sitting in fields and places like that, and people are afraid to touch them because the slightest touch could cause them to go off and cause more death and misery. So in all intents and purposes, they usually tend to leave them there with big signs saying, please watch out, or whatever. I guess that's okay, but it's still kind of interesting when something like that happens. Luckily, nobody got hurt. But the fact is, it was still, from World War II, it was still a loud, giant explosion that caused a great crater, which means that it was still fully functioning in its form. And for whatever reason, it didn't blow up when it originally was launched back in the 1940s. So just an interesting little thing. It's summertime, obviously, and people... Hello?
Hi.
Is she okay?
I can't see her under the windowsill.
Okay.
I will double check.
Check the plants closest to the stairway.
Okay.
To our porch, rather. That's where she was last time, and she was sort of laid down in that. All right. Well, I still got a little ways to go, but I'll check in about half an hour or so. Sorry, my cat is outside, and I don't know where she is. Okay, good. Is she ready to come in? Yeah. All right, get her in. Okay. So it's summertime. I feel much better now. It's summertime. So people go to the pool. They use their 6-foot Demogorgon sprinkler to stay cool. Or they use something called slip and slide, which is a big long plastic sheath that you put water on, makes it real slippery, and you run real fast, and then you jump on the sheath, and you're supposed to slide down, and it's fun and keeps you wet and cool and stuff like that. Well, a nursing home has decided that old people should have that fun as well, but obviously they can't run and jump and do all that stuff in there. So they created a slip and slide using a like, not a wheelchair, but something else that they can put the older people in and slide them slowly down this path with the sprinkler shooting on them and getting wet. And it's sort of like a slip and slide, but safe enough that it won't hurt the elderly people who are there for, who might not be able to do that, but gives them a chance to do something fun instead of just being in their house or their apartment or their room or whatever. So good on that for them. And some of these places also have like pools that they can hang out in as well, but this is just something else kind of fun to get you outside and do stuff. So July starts tomorrow, and a big event will be happening about midway through the month. It'll be the 50th anniversary of the moon landing, which is also coincides with the 50th birthday of my brother-in-law. And so there's been all kinds of movies and books and stuff about the moon landing. I just bought some of the Oreo moon cookies, which have a marshmallow cream sort of dark colored cream, which is marshmallow cream flavored, but looks like the surface of the moon type of thing, and they glow in the dark, stuff like that. It's okay. The marshmallow flavor is obviously a chemical flavor. It's a really strong marshmallow flavor. It's okay, but still, it's something different. Well, Dairy Queen has a zero gravity blizzard that they're going to set up for July for the moon landing. It's Oreo cookie pieces, sparkling swirls, cotton candy topping with vanilla soft serve, and star sprinkles. So it sounds pretty good. Cotton candy topping is interesting to see what that would look like or taste like. So good on that. So hey, you want to experience some fun stuff about the moon landing? Go get some DQ Zero Gravity. Go get your moon Oreos. I'm going to watch the movie The Dish, which is about the Australian radio telescope that helped the men land on the moon. That's going to be a good movie. It is a good movie that came out in 1999, which was the 40th anniversary, the 30th anniversary of the moon landing. So 20 years have passed since that movie came out. So and it still stands up. It's still a really good movie. The Finger Lakes up here in New York, believe it or not, have been voted the best wine region. I don't know if I've ever actually had any Finger Lakes wine before, but that alone makes me want to go, maybe I should try some. But I have heard how good the Finger Lakes wine actually is. But the fact they beat Sonoma and Napa, and up in Oregon, in Oregon and Washington as well, they beat all these other places. Michigan has a good wine selection. They beat all these places in the United States, and it is now named the best U.S. Wine region. It might well be worth a shot to maybe pick up a bottle of Napa wine, or not Finger Lake wine. So I got to go to the liquor store anyway, because I'll tell you why. Coming up on my Independence Day talk, which will be coming up sooner than later. Actually, I still got an hour to go, basically. I told her a half hour. It's probably going to be closer to 2 hours today. So I'll be done closer to 2:30 probably. So that more to go. So there you go. So go to your local liquor store this week. Pick up some Finger Lakes wine. I guess it would say it on the label where it's from. Usually it does. Sometimes they have the liquor store sectioned off by area. I know the one that I go to, well, one of the ones I go to down the road is sectioned off by location. So I'll look in the Finger Lakes section, see what I can find. So huzzah! So let me know if it's good for you. Marvel has announced that they are going to allow a bunch of one-act plays featuring their characters to be used for high school productions. So if your high school's been looking for like a good like fall production that isn't musical and want to do something that's timely, like sort of like something like that group that did the Aliens play, which still, while is impressive, was done illegally because they did not get permission to use it from the film company, despite the fact that Sigourney Weaver showed up and watched it, and Ridley Scott said that was a brilliant thing to do. They still needed to get the permission from the film companies. I think they let it waive this slide this time, but next time they probably won't. But the fact is that Marvel's allowing one-act plays, which to me, one-act plays aren't that long, which is a shame. You should do full plays of, like, Spider-Man, the Clone Saga, or, Secret Wars or something like that. You should do a full, 4-act play, 5-act play, whatever, and just be that way. But the fact is, this is the beginning. So they're allowing one-act plays. I don't know exactly what the stories are, if they are just like an issue, like they adapted an issue of the comic or whatever. But it's a neat idea. And what you can do is, since they are only one-act plays, you could gather 5 of them and have like 5 separate directors or 5 different actors, or do like what Marvel does, where like the first you grab a Iron Man play and it's just Iron Man versus a bad guy, and then the second one is like a Captain America story that you can have Iron Man pop up in, at the end or something like that to connect it to the previous play. And then the third one might be a Spider-Man one. You can have Cap and Iron Man show up, or just Cap show up, or someone else, or even have someone like, say, the Fantastic Four show up and there, and then the next act play is the Fantastic Four, so you can sort of do like a Marvel cinematic universe, but in the plays. Depends on how the one act play stories are. I don't know, because I haven't seen them, but the fact that Marvel's allowing high schools to do this, I think is awesome, and I wish they would have done it when I was in high school, but they didn't. Special needs drum corps to compete at World Championship, which is a first. It's fantastic. If you have a drum corps, you're really good. Doesn't matter if you're special needs or not. You should allow them totally to compete in a championship, as long as they pass, what they have to get there. I mean, you can't just, Okay, so it's not not blowout this time. Okay, so good on them, and hopefully they'll go far. Okay, Chris Hemsworth, after many years of saying that he was never going to come back to do Thor, and that he was done doing Thor and all this stuff, he has just renewed his Thor contract, which means he's got a couple more Thor stories he wants to do down the line. I would gather that it had to do a lot with Taika Waititi doing a Thor Ragnarok, and then the two-part Avengers story where Infinity War was basically a Thor story. And then in Endgame, they allowed him to become Fat Big Lebowski Thor, so it gave him a chance to do something different. So the fact that Thor is still going to be around for a while, and hopefully we'll maybe have a couple more movies under his belt, or maybe get involved in some of the next big events, or the Avengers, or Guardians of the Galaxy for that matter. If you've seen Avengers Endgame, he's out there with the Guardians, so maybe he'll be in James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't know. So we'll see. My favorite, a Reddit someone has said that Hemsworth's Thor is turning into Santa Claus. I think that's funny, and he does proof of stuff like that. I love Reddit. Maybe I should join Reddit, because these are really crazy stuff you find, and some of them is actually pretty interesting. Ryan Reynolds, that's right, wrote a fake review for his gin company, and it's actually hilarious. So Ryan Reynolds bought a gin company, and he's making gin and stuff like that. So it hasn't really, maybe it's doing okay, but he decided we need to have some reviews to get, because that's what you need. You need to get, if you can get some people to write reviews, that'll start spreading the word a little bit more, and then it'll get more, interest out there for your, for your company. So he wrote a review under a fake name, and is one of the funniest reviews you've ever read. And I really don't want to get into it, but just go in and go into Facebook or Twitter, type in Ryan Reynolds fake gin review, and just read it. It's hilarious. I read it on Facebook. It's freaking hilarious, and it's exactly sounds like Ryan Reynolds, and it's fantastic. So I think that's funny. I think more people should do that. Now you would say, it's not fair. He's writing his own reviews. Well, come on, really? If most people would probably write a review of their book if they could, just to get word out there. Yeah, it might not be 100% truthful, particularly, if like a Rotten Tomatoes, where you get one review that you wrote about your movie under a different name, that adds, a level of, it must be really, really good though. And of course you think it's really good, but I still think it's okay to do that. What do I know anyway? Study shows 1980s metalhead kids became well-adjusted adults. So all you people who thought that metalheads weren't going to become anything because they were just a bunch of punks, wore black and chains and smoked a lot and banged their heads and listened to heavy metal music, thought they were going to be nothing but drug dealers and criminals, stuff like that. Well, now they're actually your well-adjusted, people. So good on that. I'm not a metalhead, and I think I'm well adjusted. I'm not sure if I am or not, but so it's not necessarily just metalheads. So the fact is that most people had a preconceived notion of what metalheads would be like when they got older, and it turns out that, not quite what you think, is it? Woman falls asleep This is a weird story. Woman falls asleep on a 90-minute Air Canada flight. Okay, that happens, you know. You get in the air, you're tired, you're exhausted, you had a long time, whatever. The plane can be fairly, you know, hum and the shake and the vibrating like that. It's enough to go like that. Well, then what gets really weird is when she wakes up, the plane is dark, lights are off. It's cold because the temperature regulating is off, and there's nobody else in there. Sounds like the beginning of a horror movie. Another movie that maybe Gerald Webb and Chris Ray can make for the Netflix show, like Stage Killer on Netflix. What happened was they landed the plane and disembarked from the plane while she was still asleep, and nobody woke her up. That meant that the pilots, the stewards, and the stewardesses, they just said, I'm getting the hell out of this flight, and just walked out without checking to make sure everybody was there and safe and off the plane. And they left, they closed the door, and they either taxied it into the hangar and just left it there. And she woke up, and that must be really freaking weird. The fact that they didn't even, no one tried to wake her up or check after her. That's what gets me most. I can understand not waking you up because you don't want to bother somebody. You don't know what they're going through. You don't want to have them go, blah, 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 you know, like that if you wake them up. So you don't want them to freak out. But the stewards and stewardesses' job is to make sure that everything is out of the plane, including people. So they should have gone up and down the aisles. They should have noticed the woman still asleep and said, ma'am, you gotta get up. We've landed. I'm sorry we didn't wake you earlier. And she'll get out and you can do your thing. In this case, it seems like they said, fuck it, and just said, close the door. Everyone left. We're leaving. Take it to the and leave it. So weird. Lizard was found in a box of raspberries at a grocery store. It's a grocery store I never heard of called Salisbury, Savesbury, something like that. Salisbury, something like that. But it was actual lizard in a box of raspberries. I don't know how that happened because the lizard looked pretty fully grown. And yeah, if you got the box of raspberries and you're in the produce section and you look at it and just count it, you know, sure, you might not have seen the lizard. You might be buried under the raspberries. But just the fact of moving it and putting it down somewhere should have jostled it a little bit. Or maybe it was just born in there and wandered around. So I don't know how that happened, and I don't know how it was able to get out into the produce area because you still look at that shit, you know, and you're supposed to check that when you're in the produce section. And I know I can't just say that, well, I've done produce before, so I know what it's about. That was fun because I did it in the evening during the summer when I worked at the grocery store during the summer. They wanted me to do other stuff besides cashiering. So I did frozen food, which wasn't fun. I did milk, which wasn't fun because I actually tipped over about 6 gallons of milk that exploded, and I had to clean that up. Produce was fun though because it was in the evening and I was really basically kind of there by myself. My job was just to go out, check and make sure that all the produce was restocked and fresh, and this was before the automatic watering. You'd have to go out there and you have to spray it and water them occasionally. You didn't have to do it all during your whole shift, at least maybe twice during your 4 to 8 hour shift. You might want to do it. And I didn't work, as I said, I didn't work the full shift in the produce section, but it was fun. You go in the back and you know, I mean, I was basically I was told just to restock stuff, but you know, after a while you get bored, you need stuff to do, so stuff gets brought in. It's your job putting into the freezer, the cooler for the vegetables, and I guess, you know, if you need stuff, you need to replace like strawberries, whatever, you have to grab it and wash and go through and tag the right price and stuff like that. So it was fun, and I like doing. And actually, I wrote a series of TV shows about working at the produce section. It was called Produce Section, and it was interesting. It wasn't anything that was ever going to get made. It was early. I was in my early 20s, teens, early 20s when I wrote this, and it's shitty. But the fact is, it was a fun job, and I liked working the produce section. So, but they should have caught that absolutely. Waitress caught shoving a hot dog inside of her before serving. That's the actual phraseology of it. She stuck it in her woohoo down below and then put it back out, and someone ate a hot dog that had her woo sauce on it. So interesting. I thought I was done with sex stuff. Guess not. New creature eats rocks and secretes them as sand. I think I might have talked about that earlier, but it was kind of fascinating to see a little creature that comes along across a rock, gobbles the rock up, and then as it moves along, it poops out the dust from the rock. It's pretty cool. Paul Rudd, who is a fantastic actor, a comedic actor, a great actor, and this is a perfect vehicle for him, has signed on for Ghostbusters 3. I think that's a brilliant casting on their part to join the other Ghostbusters in there, and he could be one of the members of the new Ghostbusters crew, or he could be the bad guy or whatever. But regardless, Paul Rudd being in Ghostbusters 3 is fantastic. Man trapped in his house by an attacking seagull is told to use an umbrella for protection. So I guess you're supposed to go out, and beat them off with the umbrella. But the fact that seagulls were attacking your house and you stuck in there, you had nowhere else to go, that's just kind of an interesting thing and proof that the animals are starting to fight back. Biochemist was crowned 2019's Miss Virginia after performing a science experiment as her talent. So there's more to being a beauty queen than just beauty. She won because of her science experiment. She's probably attractive looking, probably look good in a bikini too. But still, the fact is the science experiment was one that really put it forward and shows that anyone could be a Miss Virginia or Miss USA or whatever. Sweden, Iceland, New Zealand do short work weeks, 3 days a week, 4 days a week, and give their employees like 4-day weekends every week. Now, there's lots of stuff about Sweden and Iceland and Norway and stuff like that that is good, and New Zealand, I guess, also. And this actually is not a bad idea. As I talked about earlier in the show, I had a nice 4-day weekend. It was great. I'm going to have a 4-day work week this week because I have 4th of July off middle of the week. But I wish we could have had Friday off so we have another 4-day weekend, because I agree with what the study has said. They said that a shorter work week actually does better for employees because they have more chance to rest, do the stuff they need to do, and do stuff, and it gives them more rest, and then they only have to work 4 days a week, which isn't as stressful. Because I can tell you that working a full week, when you get to Thursday, your mind is like, is it Friday yet? It feels like a Friday, but you're like, no, I got one more day to go, and you're like, oh God. So a 4-day work week would be great. 3-day work week would be better, but again, you can't run a company on. And that's why America doesn't do that. That's why America works their employees to death, because all American companies care about is making money. And they don't really care about employees. There might be some that do, but, because I swear there have been times where, taking these vacation days or sick days, whatever, I get like side eyes and complaints from the bosses saying, well, you're going to be off this week. It's like, well, yeah, I earn these. And I'm not going to work every single freaking day of the year. I'm just not going to do it. If that is not good enough for you, well, then just fire me then. Because I think there's more to life than just work. And people wonder why Americans get burned out so quickly, or snap, or lose control of things, or do these things that they do. Is because they're so stressed out by these stupid corporations forcing people to work 5 days a week. And then sometimes, as I told you last week, I felt like I was pushed into working overtime last weekend on a Saturday, which I didn't think I needed to, but I felt like I was guilted into doing it. And I think that's a ridiculous attitude to have, and it really pisses me off, and still pisses me off to this day. So kudos to Sweden, Iceland, and New Zealand to having shorter work weeks. Now the Japanese also, they have something going on also. Now they work a lot harder than we do, and they do a lot more things as well. But there are also companies out there now which are trying to make sure that their employees get enough sleep, because that's something else also. They might not be able to afford 3-day, 4-day weekends for their employees, but they want to make sure that their employees get enough sleep so that they're refreshed the next day. If that means, maybe going to work a little later than usual, that's fine, whatever. But they have like incentives to help you sleep better. There's a way to, in order to make sure you get enough sleep, Japanese companies will pay you more money if you get enough sleep. And they have like an app that'll track your sleeping habits, so they can see, okay, you slept 8 hours on Monday, you slept 7.5 on Tuesday, you slept 9 on Wednesday, you slept 6.5 on Thursday, which isn't great, but it's okay. You slept eight on Friday, so your total of amount of sleep you got this week was like somewhere around 40 plus hours. Okay, that would be enough that I'll give you an extra $2,000 in your paycheck, just because you got that sleep and you're more refreshed and able to go out and do stuff. So, even other countries feel that, people work too much, or they care more about their employees than the United States does. And yeah, look, I mean, there's probably some companies out there that do take care of their employees a bit more like these countries, but the majority of things that I've heard about in our country and stuff like that, it's really not the case so much. And it's a shame. Spain in Europe itself is actually going through a massive heat wave. So I'm glad I'm not over there, because it's a lot hotter over there than it is over here. But Spain is so hot right now that a heap of manure self-combusted, triggering a massive wildfire. So it was so hot that the manure caught fire and started a forest fire. That's how hot it is over there. There was also another shot of the satellite about the heat that looks like a screaming creature. The black eyes here and the big black mouth, which is the really heavy hot temperature, like the 120-degree weather, and then the rest around it was red, stuff like that. So it's been really, really rough over in Europe this summer, really, really hot. And so far, we've been lucky here. We actually have a good few days. Tomorrow's going to be 84, which is really nice. But then we're going to get into the lower 90s for the next 6 days, which chance of thunderstorm every day, which is basically what happens during the summer here on the eastern seaboard. Every day we get above 90 degrees, there's always a chance for an afternoon thunderstorm. Now, it only lasts a quick amount of time, but the sky gets pitch black and dark. You hear the rumbles of thunder and huge shocks of lightning, and then you have these massive downpours that last about 5 minutes, and then it clears out, and then the sun comes back out, and it becomes like a sauna outside, and it's disgusting. But that's been happening, and that happens now, and it's going to happen this upcoming week, because they're talking 93 degrees every day starting Tuesday, I think. Tomorrow, as I said, is going to be 84 degrees. But 84 degrees, supposed to be 86 today, with no rain at all. 84 degrees tomorrow, no rain. Tuesday, partly sunny, 93. Wednesday, 94 thunder showers. Thursday, 4th of July, 93 thunder showers. Friday, 93 thunder showers. Saturday, 92 thunder showers. Sunday, 88 thunder showers. Monday, 86 thunder showers. Next Tuesday, 88 degrees, partly sunny. So those thunderstorms are just sort of chances, and they're not like all day thunderstorm things. So that's just something you need to keep an eye out on. So good on that. The Indians have scored a run on us. That's all we'll talk about. The Orioles, who've been lousy this year, have outscored the Cleveland Indians last two games 26-0. Well, now it's 26-1 because the Indians got one run in today. So it's the third inning. So we held them scoreless for 20 innings, which is crazy. So good on the Orioles for that. Something they can do. Dog caught on camera jumping into the water to save a drowning cat. Again, showing that animals can work together or feel, protective of their friends and family or other animal species. That he went in and actually saved this cat who was drowning, which was great. So good on the dog for doing that. And I've seen cats do the same thing too. Cats get a bad rap sometimes, but there's a whole video about cats protecting children as well as, helping other animals as well. Russian Defense Ministry says Metal Gear, the video game, is an American intelligence plot. So I don't know what he means by that, or is it a way to? Does he think it's training the next level of soldiers to come and overtake Russia? That would be great because Russia's meddling in our elections and our president is a Russian puppet. But that's besides the point. This summer, I haven't had one of these for a while, but there's a corgi pool float. So if you love your corgis, you can go in and get a pool float of a corgi. There's actually a picture out there of a corgi in a corgi pool float being dragged in the pool by a corgi. So that's kind of some corgi inception, as they said before. There's also, where is it right now? Pregnant women also now have their own pool float as well, which has a big hole in it where they can put their big belly with the baby in it, so they can enjoy, some time on their back, on a pool float. So good for that. So it gives them a chance to get out and do stuff like that. A volcano that was dormant for almost 100 years erupted. Now that's just FYI. It's kind of interesting that, volcanoes that might not have erupted for hundreds of years could at any time erupt and can be fairly violent when need be. I think Mount St. Helens had erupted for a long time when it erupted, and the movie Dante's Peak is a good example of that as well. So, what is this? Okay, Indian builders use recycled plastic for their roads. The recycled plastic is so strong it doesn't cause potholes or bumps or cracks, and it is stronger than tar, can take a lot of weight on it, and is also does not, collect water. The water rushes right off of it. So that might be something that might be good to look at to build it, to repairing our roads, to use this plastic instead of stupid tar, which causes major issues. Never been a big fan of Seinfeld, but their 30th anniversary is coming up really soon also. And Lego is promoting the possibility that they might have Seinfeld Legos coming up. So, yeah, why not? It's good for collectors. And if you love Seinfeld, it might be something good to do. Portable solar panels are a thing also. This is a really neat idea also. You don't necessarily have to be a solar panel person, but if you have portable ones in your car, or if you just have them and something happens to your electricity or whatever, you can, I think, hook it up so that you can use the sun's powers to power certain things. Particularly, it would be good if you're like out and your car breaks down, something like that, or something like that, you're in the middle of nowhere and you need some power or whatever. It's good to have these portable solar panels to come with you to help you out when you need it. Sort of same thing with The Martian. There was that scene where he took a bunch of solar panels with him that helped him drive his Jeep to where he needed to go, but he had to stop after like 10 hours of riding to recharge them. The Walking Dead comic has been banned from an Idaho high school. It makes sense, I guess, because of the violence, nudity and sex, the adult content. It's not really a comic that probably would be good for high school, so I'm okay with them banning it because it really shouldn't be a high school thing. But at the same time, there's a whole thing about banning and stuff like that. We'll see. The Walking Dead TV show producers are actually going to be trying their hand at creating a horror fairy tale universe in movies. They have a new take on Hansel and Gretel, not the one that Jeremy Renner did, but this is a new take on it, a modern update on Hansel and Gretel, and they're going to try to have a series of these horror fairy tales updated for present day and create like a cinematic universe, which seems to be the trend nowadays. It doesn't always seem to be working. I mean, them trying to create a Dark Monsters one with the Mummy and Dracula and all that really hasn't come to fruition, though. They just didn't have the right casting and storylines. It's still a good idea. They just didn't have the right ideas for it. So we'll see. 12-year-old girl contracts deadly flesh-eating disease after swimming at a Florida beach. Now, I also saw that a young boy in our area went swimming in the bay and also got a similar flesh-eating bacteria thing. Didn't die. She didn't die either. Just contracted the flesh-eating virus, and that's what it really was, because it was like these little spots on them. They kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So it's out there. I mean, and this is two locations: the Florida and in Maryland area in the Bay. Now the Bay, kind of understandable a little bit, I guess, because a lot of boats and stuff float around there. But the fact is that this seems to be something that's happening more recently, and you could conceivably maybe say that's due to climate change as well. So, a possibility. A woman hasn't eaten in 97 days, calls herself a breatharian, who gets her nutrients from the air. She doesn't eat anything, but she feels that she gets what she needs by breathing. That's very dangerous. The fact that you lost 97 pounds hasn't eaten 97 days, and you look like a skeletal creature is not healthy. And someone needs to talk to her. Just in time. Noah was going to make his own sandwich because Dawn was out doing something. And now that Dawn's back, she'd get him pizza because we don't want them to use the oven, obviously. So some stuff you want to look out for. Switching gears a little bit, something a little bit nicer. You love wine, go get some of those Finger Lakes New York wines. But you don't want to look like a lush. You can get a flower pot keg. It looks like a flower pot with flowers in it, but it actually is a keg with wine in it, and you can put out your porch, garden party, whatever, and pour some wine in there, and it'll be from that. So I don't know exactly how it works, but I think it's a pretty neat idea. So go for it. See if you can find it. Called Flower Pot Wine Kegs, which would also be a great band name. Here's a stupid person, kind of. Man on drugs breaks into a pet store and eats 10 pounds of dog food. And the guy's picture from being arrested is messed up. He's a crazed-looking guy. A dragon lizard was caught playing a leaf guitar in Indonesia. It's just a picture where this dragon lizard is on his back. He's got a leaf with the thin part up here and the big part down here. He's got his little claws on. It looks like he's playing a guitar. And it's not a fake picture. Let's see if I can find it on here. It's not fake news. It's not an Onion. It's not a Photoshop. It's an actual picture that they found. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, I know this is great. Just watch. Let me see if I can find this stuff. But it was kind of a cute picture, and I figured it'd be really neat to show. everybody, but I might not be able to show everybody because it might be far, far away. So I want to give it a little bit more time, and then yeah, and this is the part where people are starting to say, you know what, this is boring, I'm going to turn it off. Come on, it's around here somewhere. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. I'm getting close. I know I'm getting close. Because there's the Walking Dead story. There's the flesh-eating bacteria story. There's the breatharian story. All right, here we go. I'm coming up. It was Felicia Day's birthday this week also. Melissa McCarthy has been cast as Ursula in the live-action version of The Little Mermaid. Oh, come on. I know it's nearby. It's got to be nearby. There it is. So that's the picture of the creature playing the leaf guitar. I thought that was clever. Cat returns from a night out with a bag of marijuana. So apparently this cat belongs to a police officer. And he says the cat goes out at night, and the next morning usually comes back with something. Sometimes it's a bird or a rat or a stick or whatever, but he came back with a bag of marijuana. And so the police officer, I guess, is going to try to figure out where he got it from and is going to go arrest the people who had it. So it's kind of funny this cat just grabbed this bag of marijuana and just stole it. And I think that's funny. A bishop in Colombia, the city of the country of Colombia, not the city, the country of Colombia down in South America or Central America or something like that, is planning to spray holy water from a helicopter over a city in Colombia that has a lot of high death and crime rates, hoping that the holy water, when it rains down on them, will change them to good, God-fearing people. It's worth a shot. I wish maybe somebody should do that in Baltimore, but in the end, it's just going to be someone basically causing it to rain on somebody, but without an actual rainstorm. So I don't know if it's a good idea. I don't know how people are going to react to it, but no well. A mysterious extragalactic flash has been pinpointed for the second time ever. So somewhere out in way out in space, a mysterious flash of light has been occurring, and they have pinpointed it twice, and they still don't know what it is, but they actually have found it, and probably going to go and start looking at it a bit more in depth to see what it's all about. Science proves that dogs can smell a bad person. So if dogs don't like you very much, you're probably a bad person. That must be why the president doesn't have a dog. Guys on scooters narrowly avoid a tiger aggressively pursuing them. So these guys are just driving around on scooters, mind their own business when they see a tiger chasing them and going after them. So luckily they escaped, and it goes to show you that, again, the animals are starting to rebel against people. Toasted marshmallow whipped cream. I haven't really had anything food related. There's something I got that is a thing now. And just before I get to my 4th of July discussion real quick, the last big news of the story, this is a question I want to pull out to you guys and think about. Are pools a good substitute for baths during the summer? There are a group of people who believe that yes, they are. And it is, upon my opinion, that you are a freaking moron. Pools are not a substitute for baths. Now, their reasoning is, one, well, the kids are in the water. They're getting water in their hair. They're getting it on their face and their body, and their legs and their arms and stuff like that. And even though they have swim trunks on, the privates are getting wet. So they're getting rinsed off in the pool, So, there's no need to wash hair or arms or legs or whatever, because, hey, the water's washing off the dirt and the mess up. Two, chlorine is in a lot of toilet cleaners and bath cleaners, stuff like that. And hey, when we use those cleaners, it cleans those toilets and bathtubs like a whistle. It's clean everything. So obviously having chlorine on your body is similar to having soap because it kills all the yucky, dirty, disgusting stuff on your body. So no, it's the same as after you go to the bathroom, you just wash your hands without using soap. The water will wash off the disgustingness. No, it really doesn't. You need to have something that kills the chemicals. Now, chlorine very well could possibly kill stuff like that, but it's not a cleaning agent. It'll kill some of the stuff, but it can also irritate your skin. And apparently, if you have your hair in it too much, it'll turn it green, apparently, also. You need to have soap and shampoo to get all that stuff out of your system. Plus, you don't know what pools will have people peeing in it. People will have their sunscreen getting washed off in it, so it mixes with the water and becomes kind of disgusting. And, there are other things that happen. Rainwater mixes with it. Animals might go to the bathroom in it or might drop in there, because you've seen animals in there before. Bugs fly around in it all the time. There's still all kinds of microscopic stuff that's in there that's still disgusting. And nothing beats taking a shower or a bath and washing your hair and bodies with soap and water. That's what helps out and keeps you clean and smell nice, because you're not going to smell nice if you don't have soap and stuff like that. So it takes 2 seconds. It takes a little bit of time to take a bath or a shower. Just let them do their bath and shower. Make it part of their bedtime routine. That's what we do with our kids. So I say no, but I'm going to hear what everybody else out there says. I know nobody else is going to respond, but I'll just put it out there. Our pool substitutes for bath during the summer. So when I post this video tomorrow, I'll ask that same question, and you can respond to that if you want to as well. So finally, we've got the last bit of stuff, just about within the 2-hour range. Just want to talk about the 4th of July real quick. And I probably should have done this first because now it just isn't with me as much. But the 4th of July has always been to me, it's a cool holiday. It's the last holiday we have until Labor Day. And even then, that's not really a big holiday. We get a 3-day weekend usually. And there's nothing really between then and that. So the next big holiday is going to be Halloween, because let's look at it this way. There's not really a lot of Labor Day decorations. So I guarantee you right after the 4th of July, you're going to start seeing, you'll see back to school stuff probably first. But then you'll start seeing stuff for Halloween, probably start rolling through there. So that's in October, and that's still months away. But 4th of July is a American holiday, and only America celebrates it. Everybody else is just a regular day. And, it's mostly celebrated with barbecues, swimming pools, parades, fireworks. And we have all that stuff around here. A lot of stores are closed. Grocery stores stay open for a little bit, but a lot of other stores just are closed. It's one of the only days that they close during the summer fully. And the parades are great. There's one we used to go to in Towson all the time. I proposed to my wife at one in 2002, the 4th of July parade in Towson. And we don't have any. We have, I think there's some over in Glendon, but I'm not exactly sure what time that is or whatever. But they have their flags out already for 4th of July. Old Navy has every year they do a American flag sort of shirt, which I'm kind of contemplating going to Old Navy and getting some of those for the family and one for myself, because I haven't gotten a new one in a while. I still have a bunch of the old ones that I'm probably going to be wearing all week this week. And I have a 4th of July Hawaiian shirt that my wife got me for my birthday last year, which is really cool. So I'm going to wear that on 4th of July itself. But it's a nice, relaxing day off. Lately it's been in the middle of the week, but we're going to be going to a period of time now where for the next at least 3 years, potentially 4, it's going to be in good shape. Because if you look at it this way, next year it's going to be on a Saturday because of leap year. So we'll get that Friday off. So we'll get a 3-day weekend guaranteed. We're not going to get a 4-day weekend this year, which we should, but that's besides the point. We'll get a 3-day weekend guaranteed next year in 2020. 2021's on a Sunday. If 4th of July's on a Sunday, we'll get a guaranteed 3-day weekend then, because we'll have off that Monday the 5th. So we'll have a 3-day weekend then. So we've got, in the next 2 years, we've got 2 3-day weekends. Then 2022, it'll be it'll be on Monday. So you'll have another 3-day weekend. So 3 straight 3-day weekends coming up: 2020, 2021, 2022. 2023, still not leap year though, just because 2020 is still not leap year. So 2023 is on a Tuesday. Now, again, we're getting to that period now where, like, okay, well, now what's going to happen? Are we going to get that Monday off to have a 4-day weekend? Probably not. So we'll see about that. But for the next 3 years, we're going to have 3-day weekends. And then in 2024, it jumps to a Thursday. So it's going to be on Thursday again next year in 2024. In 5 years, it's going to be on Thursday again. So again, you're going to be, should we have a 4-day weekend again? So if you're lucky and you have a company you work with that'll give you 4-day weekends on those days, you'll have, for the next 5 years, you'll have 3 to 4-day weekends 4th of July. Not me. The next 3 years are going to be good because you get 3-day weekends. But other than that, that's it. So, but it's fun. It's good. And I wish we could do more about it. I mean, it's a family thing. It's something that we've always done with my family, my dad's side of the family, really. We used to play badminton all the time, and we would sometimes have fireworks, but it's always a barbecue. It's at my uncle's house every year now. It used to be at my grandmother's house, but she passed away a while back, and even then she moved to an apartment. We didn't have it there. We had my Uncle Philip's house because his house is huge. This year we are tasked with creating appetizers, so we have to make appetizers for it. But then you also have, leading up to it, you can get some movies to watch. Independence Day is a big one because that movie takes place July 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. 1776, the musical movie version, or you can go see it at Broadway if it's out there in Broadway, is about the signing of the Declaration of Independence, which created July 4th. Hamilton is actually out in Baltimore right now at the Hippodrome through July 4th holiday. So that's another historical type of play musical you might want to check out. National Treasure is a good film that deals with American history and might get you up and excited for that. Jaws takes place on the 4th of July weekend as well. Hell, even if you wanted to, the Captain America movies, particularly the first one, you could always consider that as kind of a 4th of July style type of movie. Probably more so the original one than Winter Soldier and Civil War, because those are more MCU aspects, where the first Avenger was basically the creation of a superhero from America during World War II. So it's a good thing. There's probably other movies, The Patriot, which I didn't really like myself, but it's during the Revolutionary War, and other historical movies like Glory and stuff like that. There's plenty of them out there to check it out. So I'll be checking out maybe some of these movies as well. The Spirit of 76 beer is now out from Samuel Adams. That might be one that I might look into maybe purchasing and seeing what that tastes like. And so that might be something fun to look into. And plus, I hope to go to Target a little later today, or worst case scenario tomorrow. I'm a Funko Pop fan, and they've announced historical Funko Pops. Off of Amazon, I ordered the George Washington, Benjamin Franklin 2-pack, which will be coming on Tuesday the 2nd. And Target has a bunch of exclusives, which I checked the Target website, and they say they're available at the local Target down the road from here. Be a Uncle Sam, a Rosie the Riveter, and an Abraham Lincoln Funko Pop. So I'm going to probably pick those up because I'm a history geek, and those are great. And they also should only have a Washington crossing the Delaware Funko Pop, which is one of the bigger ones. I'll check that out as well. Probably pick up all those as well. So I'm gonna probably do that very shortly. So, and decorate the house like that. I'll dig up my American flags. I'll probably change my images on Facebook and Twitter to 4th of July stuff. Now, normally I would also change my background at work to a 4th of July thing. I still might look at it, but it's once our computer system went into a new type of thing, it's no longer easy for me to change the background like it used to be. So now it's a little bit harder and more complicated to get to, so I might not do it, but we'll see. And that should be about it. All right. This week, The Thing came out in 1982. Spaceballs came out in 1987. The Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, or the Philosopher's Stone, whatever you call it, the first book in the Harry Potter series, came out 22 years ago. The Karate Kid came out 35 years ago. Check out Cobra Kai if you haven't yet. The Tarzan animated series from Disney came out 20 years ago, and Stripes came out in 1981. I think 1995 also had the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers first movie came out this week as well. So that's what's going on with stuff this week. And then real quick, let's run some Check I Day stuff to see what holidays we got, and then we'll end this fiasco of a show. Okay. Oh, we only have the 30th now. We don't have the first. Okay. The 30th is Descendants Day. Oh, that's today. Today is Descendants Day, International Asteroid Day, Log Cabin Day, National Meteor Day, National Outfit of the Day Day, National Organization for Women Day, Social Media Day. That's all for today. Yesterday, the 29th, was Bartender and Mixologist Day, Feast of Saints Peter and Paul, Great American Picnic Day, Hug Holiday Day, National Almond Butter Crunch Day, National Camera Day, National Celebrate Your Marriage Day, National Waffle Iron Day, World Scleroderma Awareness Day. This is all the 29th. The 28th was Drive Your Corvette to Work. Yeah. Insurance Awareness Day, International Body Piercing Day, International Caps Lock Day, National Food Truck Day, National Tapioca Day, Paul Bunyan Day, Towel Day. These are all on the July 28th. Let me see, there was also, there's a bunch of stuff on the 27th, but it was also National UFO Day, or International UFO Day was like the 24th or something like that, but I'm not going to go all the way far back there. But yeah, stuff like that. Then tomorrow, being July 1st, there's a ton of stuff, and I'm going to see if I can find it. They don't have it posted yet, but there's a ton of stuff. Tomorrow's obviously also going to be Canada Day, but we have American Zoo Day, Blink 182 Day, Canada Day, Devotion to Duty Day, Early Bird Day, International Chicken Wing Day, International Joke Day, National Creative Ice Cream Flavor Day, Financial Freedom Day, Ginger Snap Day, Postal Worker Day, Television Heritage Day, second half of the New Year Day. Oh, that's pretty interesting. U.S. Postage Stamp Day and Zip Code Day is all the stuff that happened. So. And also multi-day events starting on Monday, July 1st. We have Cell Phone Courtesy Month, Cord Blood Awareness Month, Hitchhiking Month, Juvenile Arthritis Awareness Month, Lasagna Awareness Month, Lost Pet Prevention Month, Minority Tourism Month, National Anti-Boredom Month, National Baked Bean Month, National Bison Month, National Blueberry Month, National Cleft and Craniofacial Awareness and Prevention Month, National Culinary Arts Month, National Doghouse Repairs Month, Family Reunion Month, HIV Awareness Month, Hot Dog Month, Ice Cream Month, National Parks and Recreation Month, Peach Month, Picnic Month, Water Gardening Month, Unlucky Month for Weddings, so don't get married in July, UV Safety Awareness Month, and Wild About Wildlife Month. So there's a whole lot of other ones on here. Fireworks Eye Safety Month, Helen Keller Deaf Blindness Awareness Week, Eye Safety Awareness Week is coming up, International Year of Indigenous Languages, International Year of Moderation, International Year of the Periodic Table of Chemical Elements is all stuff that's coming up soon. So July's got a lot going on with it. So huzzah. All right, so on that note, what's he talking about? Oh, well, I don't know. So on that note, I want to wish you all a happy 4th of July. As I said, I will probably not be doing a show on the 4th of July. I will probably do one on the 6th or 7th of July, so we'll see how that works out. And so enjoy your first week of July. Enjoy your Independence Day out there in America. If you're not in America, enjoy your Canada Day. If you're not in Canada, enjoy your first week of July. And I got really not much else to say. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye now. Happy 4th.